Well, thank you for joining us tonight for this Portugal Calling webinar with Expats Portugal. The latest updates on Portugal's digital nomad and D7 visas. I dare say there'll be talk of other types of visa for moving to Portugal as well. But that's the main event tonight, digital nomads, D8 and D7 as well. And here to talk about it from EI, we have Renata Monteiro and Carolina Cunha as well. So good evening to you both. Renata has a presentation for us. Let's just have a quick chat with Carolina. How are you this evening, Carolina Cunha?
Hi, hello everyone. I'm fine, thank you. And well, I'm doing well this evening, rainy evening, unfortunately. But well, everything is up and running on our immigration floors. So we hope that this webinar goes smoothly. We directed the webinar more towards the residence permit part, so on a later end of the process. But we also are going to be addressing visa questions, of course. And for visa matters, I am here to clarify all the questions. For residence permit and later down the end questions, my colleague Renata, she's a lawyer, she can assist as well.
Fantastic. Thanks, Carolina. Thanks for being here. You'll be working behind the scenes there, and the details for EI are on Carolina's backdrop there. Backdrop for Renata tonight, by Renata Monteiro in the office, I think, this evening. Good evening to you,
Yes,
Renata. Good to see
good
you.
evening. It's very nice to be here again now on the webinar. Okay, and it's raining here in Porto too, but we are happy because we win a match. We won a match yesterday. It was Porto Arsenal. I was there.
Were you? Because
Yes, I
what an
was.
exciting match. I saw a little bit of that, and there weren't any goals for quite a long time, were there? And what an
Yes.
amazing goal at the end of the match
It
there.
was on the last minute call. I was there
Yeah.
shouting for Porto, and it was very nice. So
What a
we're
stadium.
happy. We are
What a
happy.
stadium the Dragons have got up there. Quite incredible. So, oh, wow, you're actually at the match. Fantastic. So you're
Yeah.
riding high this evening, enjoying that victory over the UK's Arsenal, who came all that way to get beaten by the Portugal side, Porto. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your presentation. So let's go over to you for that. Actually, before we do, let's find out a bit more about you. You say you're in the Porto office. Can you tell us a
Yes.
little bit? We have seen you, of course, on our webinars here, but some people might not be familiar with you. You work up in Porto. What sort of things do you do on a daily basis for EI?
So I'm a lawyer. I work for the EI legal department and I'm based here in EI Porto. Okay, so I work with the residence permit application. My colleague Carolina do the visa processes.
Yep.
When you arrive in Portugal, you have to convert this visa on a residence permit. That's why I enter and help you in this process. Okay.
Brilliant. Simple as that. Fantastic. And you live up there in Porto, I take it?
Yes.
In the north? Okay.
In
So
the north.
is there a bit of a rivalry between the EI A staff who live in Lisbon and the ones who live in Porto? Can you tell us about that?
No, not so many. Not so many. Just about the weather. Sometimes they make fun of us. Oh, it's sunny here, but it's raining. Oh, it's always like this. But it's
Okay, all right. There always seems to be a little bit of rivalry between the Lisboetas and the Porto Tripetas, the Tripeiras, right, up in Porto.
yes, the
But not
Tripeiras,
not the EI. Okay, so over to you then. I think you've got the screen for sharing your presentation, and might jump in with the occasional question because they're coming through into the chat now, which is great. And of course, as Astrid said, a chance to ask more questions after you finish presenting and when we've turned off the recording. So over to you, Renata.
Okay, so I have a little presentation today because CF, as you know, changes to AIMA.
Yep.
So today I'm going to do a little presentation about this change and what the government intend to establish with these changes in AIMA now, because they published a decree law in January, and I'm going to talk about more about this, okay? Let me share my screen.
Hi, Yumiko. Thank you for your, greetings to Renata there from Yumiko, and Carlos and Lisa. Hi to you. Good to see you, Laurie. Nice in your nice warm sweater there. Another reminder to wrap up warm if you're coming to Portugal at this time of year as well. So keep those any celebrations, milestones, keep them coming in the chat if you will, and of course any questions that you've got, and we'll put them to Renata this evening, and Carolina will be working behind the scenes as well. So back to you, Renata.
Okay, so here we have a beautiful picture of Porto.
Oh, yeah.
It's for you, okay. So this is a little review about our services, okay? We can help you with the visa application with my colleague Carolina Cunha, who is here today and can talk more about our services related to the visa application to Portugal, okay?
Well, so visa stuff is it with me. And me specifically, I do D7 and D8 visas, but we have colleagues and consultants that do all types of visas, D1, D2, D3, D4, D5, D6, D7, and D8, all of them. So, but let's focus specifically on the D7 and D8s. Our assistance pretty much consists on, we first do a consultation where we can assess the full situation of the person. Well, because it's difficult to be simple. It's a family situation, and we are going to see the options. Some people even are able to do both D7 or D8, and we are going to advise and suggest the simpler, fastest, less bureaucratic way. And at the end of the day, it's the person that decides, and we will assist them with whichever. In that case, the assistance of the visa application starts by us sending a checklist to the person and revising. Well, then they gather the documents, of course, and they send it to us scanned. We check them one by one, and we make our comments, all of our revision on each document, and we make suggestions if that's not what we wanted or if the person did not got the right one, and until we have the perfect ingredients for us to make the proper process. Then we draft the process itself, which is the declarations, the visa form, and the motivation letter. And we put the whole thing together, and we do a video call with the client, explaining to them what we did and the reasoning for all the documentation. We explain to them how will the appointment go, and pretty much coach them through it. And then they go to the appointment. Well, this depends on each country. Some countries, they actually go there physically. Some other countries, they mail the process. Depends on which one. On the beginning stages, we assess this and we tell them from the beginning so they know. And then up until they get the visa, our follow-up is included. So all their questions, concerns, if intervenience is needed, we are there for it. And in the rare case of a denial, it's included our appeal and so on. So, and then the person gets the visa and we check it to see if it was properly issued and the dates of the 4 months that they have to enter Portugal, and if they have an AIMA appointment. If they do, we offer the following service that my colleague Renata will explain, and yeah, hopefully the visa stuff is done there.
Thank you, Carolina.
Okay, thank you, Carolina. So we also provide house hunting in EI. So we have a house hunting team who can travel all over the country, search a home for you also, okay, and analyze the lease agreement with the landlord. It is according to the law. We can provide this service also. We provide Portuguese documents such as NIF, it's a tax number in Portugal, the NIS, social security number, the health number, the utente number we also provide, and the residence permit. This is my part where I enter. You have to convert your visa in a physical card. It's a residence permit, and you have to go to the AIMA office. That's why I'm going to talk more about the AIMA now, okay? So what is the AIMA? You heard about the CEF a lot, and some people still don't know what the AIMA is, so I'm going to clarify the name for you, the meaning of the name. The AIMA means the Agency for Integration, Migration and Asylum. So from October last year, the CEF doesn't exist anymore, and now the AIMA, it's responsible for the residence permit application. It's the public entity in Portugal where you go and you apply for your card, for your residence permit card, okay? So
Can you tell us a little bit more about that, Renata? Because it's gone from being largely the police force, I think, in the old days, to
Yes.
more departments that are involved now in having people move to Portugal. Is that correct?
Yes, so the government would separate the police part from the administrative part. So now AIMA is just the administrative services where you apply for the residence permit, and the police part was separated
Oh, okay.
from
Right.
this part. Now it's just administrative services.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
So, and in January this year, the government, they released a new decree law. This decree law regulates the Foreign Act in Portugal. So with the AIMA, they also updated the Foreign Act to make sure that they comply with the new requirements, the new policies that AIMA would like to implement. So AIMA would like to implement a more simplification and modernization of the processes. Okay, so they would like to implement also more effective information sharing between AIMA and public entities in Portugal. Because what happens, you ask for your visa on the consulate, you provide all your information on the consulate, and then you come to Portugal to AIMA, you receive an appointment, and you go to the AIMA to request your residence permit. But you have to provide all information again when you go to the AIMA. So what the government would like to implement, it's the AIMA can contact the consulate and request this information. And you don't need to present all the information again when you're going to request your residence permit. So it will be easier, okay? And also with the public entities in Portugal, they would like to implement, for example, the AIMA communicating with the tax authority, with the social security. So the AIMA would collect the documents for you. Okay, you don't need to bring your tax number, for example. AIMA have access to the tax authority and can ask for this information. So this is the changes that the government is implementing now with the new decree, okay? And also, I would like to talk about the AIMA online platform. So they would like to modernize the procedures, make the procedures more digitally. So you can apply in the future for the residence permit online, because today, how it works, you must have an appointment, you go in person to the AIMA and you request the residence permit. But with the new decree, they would like to put all the processes in a platform, in an online platform. So you can go and ask for your residence permit in online platform. So this is for the future. This is not implemented right now. So we know that in Portugal, things go slowly. So we don't have a concrete forecast when this online platform is going to work for all the residence permit process, okay? But for now, it's working, it's already available, but just for one kind of processes now. It's for the family reunification processes. What is the family reunification? When people already have the residence permit in Portugal, they can request the residence permit for their family. So for these processes, the online platform, the AIMA online platform is already available. So you can request there the residence permit, okay? And also they would like to reduce the taxes for online applications. So with the AIMA platform, the in-person appointments were not going to disappear, don't worry, okay? You're going to choose if you'd like to go in person or if you'd like to apply online, okay? There is a pros and cons of online and in-person appointments. I work in AIMA, so I go in person there almost every day. And I think the in-person appointment is also important because you go there, you present your documents, you talk to the officer, you can explain the situation. And when you have an online platform, you are going to submit the documents according to the law, but you cannot explain, you don't have a human, a person there to help you. So it's good that they would like to simplify the processes, but it's also maybe tricky, this online platform, because you don't have someone to explain to you how if the document is correct or not, which document you're going to submit, to analyze the document before you submit. So it's also important to have a support, even if it's online, the procedure. I think it's very important for you to have a support to make sure that the documents you are submitting are correct, are according to the law, and we can help you with these processes also, okay? We can analyze and submit the document for you, and also they would allow lawyers to submit the processes, so we can go there on your behalf, submit all the process, and follow up the process for you until it's finished, okay? Let me see if I have more.
Well, that sounds like a great improvement. When, as you say, when you're in the AIMA offices and you're meeting the officers, do they seem quite positive and upbeat about the changes?
So it depends on the AIMA office. I have been quite
Of course.
many AIMA office, and it depends a lot.
Right.
And also in Portugal, each AIMA office has his own little rules.
Yes.
So it's important to know also, because each of them don't require this document and the other yes.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
yes, we have to know them very well.
Okay, fair enough. And you do, of course. That's one of the great benefits of working with you, is that you have a working and practical knowledge of these officers and the
Yes.
offices, and you have a pretty good idea of what they might be asking for from your personal experience of dealing with many cases. From your point of view, Renata, and thank you very much for your presentation. That was really helpful and great to see some change. And you said, I mean, it sounds to me like, roughly speaking, this is a very positive thing. But as you also said, as a little bit of a caveat, these things can take time in Portugal. Generally speaking, though, do you feel quite positive about it, and this will be a good thing?
Yes, I feel quite positive about it. Now they also have provided information on their website regarding this, and you can see, you can check on the website also the kinds of residence permits, visa. There are also more information available for you to clarify some questions, and also less documents for you to provide, I suppose, because now you have to submit a visa application, and on the residence permit, you have to submit all the documents again. So it's positive that they're going to reuse the documents from the visa application, that you don't need to bring all the papers again for your
So it's
appointment.
a bit more joined up, which should make it
Yes.
a bit more efficient and less repetition and less opportunities for mistakes to be made as well, if only
Yes,
the
sure.
information was. Well, that's great. That's really good. Anything else you want to add before we take a few questions?
So yes, I would like to add to pass to Carolina, because we had been some questions between the family accompany visa and the family reunification process. There have been some difference between these two, and Carolina can clarify better today also about these two kind of processes.
Great.
Please,
Okay.
Carolina, thank you very much.
Thanks, Renata, for the time being. And yeah, let's talk a little bit, if we can, about the digital nomad visa as well, and things that might have changed over the last few months too. So Carolina, let's go back to you.
Well, hello again.
Hello.
So, touching on a little bit what Renata was saying, I would like to explain the difference between an accompanying visa and the family reunification visa. Not visa process. So for accompanying visa, it's when both the main applicant, so let's say the D7 and their family member, they both apply together. So the accompanying visa is like a piggyback on the main applicant. So if the main applicant succeeds, the second succeeds. And the main applicant must provide the criteria for the both of them. Mm-hmm. For family reunification, this, to be honest, is a very precarious option, because before they implemented the accompanying visa, which was on December 2022, if I'm not mistaken, the December or November, which was pretty much a year and a few months ago. Before, the family members were on a very unfair situation because they were not main applicants. How does someone that does not provide for himself apply for a D7 visa? It was a very gray area. And a lot of times people the main applicant would apply, and then their family would come as tourists. And then after the main applicant here in Portugal got their residence permit, finally the family could go ahead and get an appointment for family reunification and do its process. But me saying it, it looks like it's something smooth going, but this takes months, like months and months and months. The government should release slots every so often, because this is a possibility, so they must release slots for it. No, but they don't. So the big lump sum that they released was, do you remember when it was, Renata? It was like beginning last year or something like that. There's a lot of people waiting for more than a year.
Yes.
So yeah, do you remember the month, Renata?
It was October.
October, but 2023?
Yes, 2023.
Oh, but those slots were very, very little.
Yes.
But I was mentioning the one before that. I think it was like May or something.
I'm sorry, 2022.
Yeah.
Yes, it was in May. Yes, yes.
So the big lump sum was in May, and from then on, those were up, and those were not enough for the people waiting. So there are still people waiting before 2022. So if new people having the opportunity to do accompanying visas choose to do the family reunification visa, it's like if you have a better path and a terrible path, it's quite obvious the choice, unless you really have to. For some reason, you can't apply at the same time. So I really do not advise that people do family reunification here in Portugal, because they are pretty much stuck here until they get their own documents, which it's pretty much they are at the discretion of the government and immigration pretty much, and we don't know when it is that. And for some people can't afford to travel, so it's not that big of a deal for them to be stuck. But for other people that have businesses and family emergencies and all that, it's a very big liability. So if one can choose, I don't know if I've made my opinion clear enough, but
Yes.
please do the accompanying visa route. It's much simpler, less bureaucratic, cheaper, and much more convenient for the person.
Yes, and just one note, Carolina, about the family unification that I talked about on the online AIMA platform. It's working now, but just working for children now. The parents can apply for children between 5 and 15 years, and for people who already have the residence permit in Portugal. So it's also a very limited profile that can apply for the online platform. So my opinion is also advise apply if possible for the family accompany visa.
Very good. Excellent. Thank you. Right. Anything else from you, Carolina?
So from my end, you also wanted me to touch on the digital nomads,
Yeah,
correct?
if you wouldn't mind. I mean, there aren't that many questions about that, but some people will be expecting that from the video as well. So that's been quite a volatile, it's not the right word, a dynamic entry in these last few months with the digital nomad visa. What's going on with that at the moment?
So the digital nomad visa, for all effects, it's like the baby visa. It's the last one to be implemented, and because before they put everything on the D7, active and passive income.
Yeah.
But they reached a point that it was no longer feasible, so they invented the digital nomad at the same time that they invented the accompanying visa. So November, December 2022. So a year and a few months have passed, and what I can say now is the consulates are much more aware of the criteria, because I've done right at the beginning, the consulates were very slow to implement it. So I had already the rules were not even printed in the Portuguese law, and I already had clients telling me that they wanted digital nomad visas. And
I remember those days, and we had some of the first people, didn't we, that we were talking to in this space? Yeah.
But the consulates were still they probably were like, oh, some more again, something new. So
Yeah.
it was harsh, but now I feel like they've caught up. So it has been going very, very smoothly if one presents all the documents. And I always recommend one or two more than the minimum, because if a digital nomad just presents the minimum, it's gonna take very long. If they just show a little bit above and beyond, it's faster and it's more clear and transparent for the consulate when they are analyzing. And sometimes they ask for a few weird documents, like, for example, for a service provider to present a consent letter from the people or companies that they provide services to.
Right.
It's just very weird because they are a service provider. They can be anywhere, everywhere,
Yes.
but the consulate has asked for this, but it once. So sometimes if it's feasible, I try and manage, like, to prevent this situation from happening. Other times it's not possible. Other times, well, it's never, even in the consulate, it's not always the same people analyzing the processes. So it's a human eye looking. It's not a mathematic calculation.
It's
So
not AI yet.
exactly. It's not
Okay.
100%. It's not. There's no 100% right. So yeah, from that end, on that situation, I've been seeing more acceptance of the nomads. And even though they always try and invent more documents, more criteria, even though there's only 4 written, they just come up with more. But I'm already prepared, so
And you push back. Again, this is another benefit of working with EI, with A. They know how to anticipate these situations in a way that somebody doing it for the first time without that knowledge would know how to do. So brilliant. So the baby has grown up into a toddler, we could safely say then, the digital nomad. It's on its feet. And there was something about social security. There was a concern, wasn't there, about the social security payments that digital nomad visa applicants were going to be paying. Does that ring any bells for you?
yes, of course. So that is still an ongoing question, but
okay.
Renata is here, and she can also clarify what the SEF clerks and what do they tell the applicants,
Yes.
and how nomads have been seeing their visas approved or not. So please, Renata.
Carolina,
Yeah.
thank you for the time being. Renata, back to you.
Yes, so Carolina, from my experience, it depends on each AIMA office now. I work in the AIMA office in the north, Porto, Braga, and all the AIMAs in the north, and it's not required the social security number here, but our colleagues in Lisbon have been to some AIMA office that require the NIS. So it's also a very foggy situation, okay, on the law. Especially on the law, there is no mention of the social security number yet. Okay. But some AIMA offices, some offices understand that it's necessary. It's a necessary number. Okay. But it depends on each AIMA office.
Very
So please
interesting.
contact us if you have an appointment, digital nomad, for us to review your document and see which AIMA office you're going. Okay, and apply for this number before
You can get a bit of a
appointment.
heads up. Can you help people get the NIS number?
Yes, we can help people get this number.
That's great. Now let's do a bit of jargon busting, because there are the 3 acronyms, aren't there? There's the NIF, the old AKA the contribuent, the SNS, which is the health number, and the one you just mentioned, the social security number, the NISS. So just to make that clear for everybody, shall we go to questions now from the chat? Is that okay with you both? Okay,
Yes.
excellent. And thank you so much for your presentation so far and those few extra points there. So let's go to April 1st. We're traveling to Lisbon on March the 25th, staying in Lisbon for a few days. Then we will be traveling to the Algarve, where we plan to stay for 17 days. Do I have enough time to do all of the D8 process for the USA before I leave for Portugal on March the 23rd? So do you think that's a long enough headroom there between now and the 23rd of March?
Well, sorry, I was looking at the numbers as well. It depends on what does she already have.
Okay.
So if she's already ready,
yes,
she can do whatever she wants. But the in some documents can be obtained online, but it
April
depends
needs to
on,
let us know how well prepared she already is then in that case, right? So
yeah.
it is, I mean, technically possible. We'll take it as technically possible, but depending on some of the documents that you might need as well, April between now and March the 23rd, only a month away. And of course, with February this year, even though it's a leap year, we're still short of 2 or 3 days, aren't we? As well, to bear that in mind. Question from Phyllis. Hola, bonnoit to you as well, Phyllis. My husband and I were unable to get appointments on the same day at the VFS in Miami. The appointments are in April. When should we reach out to EI with our documents for assistance? Obrigada. Thanks, Phyllis, for the Portuguese as well there.
Well, ASAP. The sooner the better.
Right, just to have that first call and make
Yeah.
sure the ducks are in a row, as it were, and everything's. I guess it's
Yeah.
easier to have a call now and discover that nothing needs to be done than to have a call later and realize that you should have done loads of things.
Yes, because I need to see if they are D7, D8, if they have already everything and it's just assemble,
Yeah.
or if they still have to gather, if I suggest a complimentary letter from a tax advisor or a CPA. So I would need to speak with them, and the fact that they mentioned that they have appointments on the same day, that's also pretty no problem.
Or they're not
Usually,
able to. Sadly, they can't. They haven't got
yeah.
appointments on the same day.
If they are a couple, most likely, or family members, most likely, if they just go together and show that they booked the following appointment as well, so they are not trying to not pay VFS fees. Usually VFS takes them anyway. So
Oh, that's good to know, Phyllis. There you go. Yeah, that's really good to know. Well, thanks for that, Carolina. That's excellent. Anything else you need to know, Phyllis? But sooner rather than later, I think is the basic gist of the answer there. Jennifer, good evening to you. Good evening, everyone. Greetings from Ashland, Oregon. My husband and I have our VFS appointment in San Francisco in April. We very much look forward to returning to our second home in Guimarães. We thank Carolina for her support as we go through this process. She's incredibly patient and knowledgeable, and some applause from the gallery there as well. Fantastic, Jennifer. You can unmute if you want to as well. We have been very lucky to have you, Carolina, Claudia, and of course your fearless leader, Gilda. Yeah, as our guides. Thank you so much to each and every one of you. Go ahead, Jennifer, if you'd like to say that for yourself.
Yeah, I just really, really want to thank the whole team. Carolina has gotten to know me pretty well because we've been back and forth a lot with emails, and your patience is undying, and I appreciate it very much. There are so many little details and things that are just hard to get my head around, and I'm so glad that we have EI in our corner. I really am. I'm getting choked up. It's really been very
bless you.
important to us. Yeah.
Well, you make a
Thank
good
you all.
point, don't you? When you're in a remote location and you don't know what's going on, and you know your dream depends on it. It is lovely, isn't it, to have allies and people who are working for you and really understand what's going on. So I do understand why it's an emotional matter as well. So thank you for sharing that, Jennifer. Thank you.
thank you
Thanks.
so much for your words. You have your way with words, Jennifer, and we appreciate it. And I'm gonna pass it on to Gilda as well.
Oh, yes,
But yeah,
please.
we face in this case, for you as an American and for us that as Portuguese, you are changing to a whole different culture. And for me, some details I'm already used to, but now I know they are weird or they are quirky, or so it's a lot of details that are not intuitive, because your intuition comes from a different culture. So it's difficult to navigate it alone. It's too much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very well put. Thanks,
Agreed.
Caroline.
Yeah. Thank
And
you.
you'd like everyone to vote, I take it as well, Jennifer.
Oh, yes. Thank you so much. I just put up a post in the forum last week to just for any Americans who are here and who would like to join Democrats abroad, we can use your help. Our country is in big need, and we would appreciate your taking a look at the message from Sally DeCipio, who is the Democrats Abroad Portugal chair.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And for the purposes of political balance, I'm sure there is a Republican service of a similar kind as well. available. So thank you for that, Jennifer. Then and you've popped that on the forum there too. Thank you so
Yes.
much for those kind words. That's absolutely wonderful. Tom Smith, then I know you need. There's another question. I know you need a Portuguese bank account for a D7. How much should it be funded? I heard it should be with a year's minimum funds for the D7, or about 15K. These change because Laurie, thank you for your additional input on that, Laurie. And as you say, requirements are always in flux, so check with your attorney. Let's do that now then. What sort of numbers would you recommend?
Well, depends on the on the application itself. If it's a rock solid application, it fluctuates. The legal minimum would be 10,000, but my recommendation is 20,000 because you are applying for a passive income visa. So the basis of your whole visa is that you have passive income enough and savings that you are going to support yourself and never depend on the Portuguese government. So the better you look, the better you seem, because even though it's not your intention, it's always on the back of the person approving you that it could be you. So the more comfortable you make the person and the team approving you their decision, the easier your process is runs smoothly. So I recommend to show on your D7 visa application 20,000, but that's my opinion on doing hundreds of processes, but you know, you choose.
Okay, and that of course you can have a discussion with Carolina about that.
Yes.
If your circumstances don't reflect that, it's still possible to have a conversation with Carolina, I think, to look at how that can be best represented to the officials you talk about there, Carolina. Excellent, thanks. There you go. That's for Tom. Thank you, Tom, for that question, and thanks, Laurie, for your help on that, and thanks for your answer, Carolina. Michael Whitby, good evening to you. It appears AIMA is getting their act together, except they are still issuing D7 visas without appointments. It is not possible to get appointments at this time. We have contacted them over 4,000 times. 4,000. I don't think that's a misprint. 4,000. And when Michael adds, when they have talked to people at AIMA, when they finally got through, they are as frustrated as we are. They are good people. I guess they're in a very difficult system and situation at the moment. Thanks for that feedback, Michael. If my wife asks, Alex became a resident, but I didn't at the same time, would the process through reunification be simpler versus me going through the D7 process from the start? That's probably for you, Carolina, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Short answer, no.
Okay.
Would not be simpler, neither. Pretty much there's no benefit unless that's your only solution.
Okay.
It's pretty much a last resort option. So
Right.
if you have the possibility to be a D7, just do the D7. You'll do the whole process and would be faster if you were just waiting for an appointment, which takes years.
Okay, there you go, Alex. Thank you for that. And I see we've got lots of questions now. Should we need to? I think I'd like to pause the recording in about 10 minutes. And then we can go to some more personal questions for people to feel more comfortable asking after the recording's concluded. And of course, we've got the Dream Team session at 9, so that can be a bit of an overflow if we don't get to everything. The visa webinars are always very popular with lots of questions, and we've got the additional facility tonight of asking on the Dream Team session as well. So do bear that in mind, in the link for the Dream Team, where you can meet and talk to other migration professionals, all the aspects and areas that you'll need for moving to Portugal, represented on the Dream Team panel as well. Let's go to April. Will Portuguese banks accept US post office money orders to fund bank accounts? That's a good question, isn't it? US post office money orders. Have you any experience of managing those, and will the banks take them?
I've never heard a feedback
Okay.
on that. I'm sorry.
Right. That might be a forum thing, April. There may be others in our community who have done that. So you could ask in the forum, and there may be people on the call tonight who may be able to help with that. So April, let's keep an eye on that. Boa tarde, todos, from Jose Mario as well, with Golden Visa. I have a NIF number, but wife and kids don't. Do they need NIFs before they get a national health card? And I think that might be some confusion with the different acronyms there. What do you make of that, Carolina?
So this person has a golden visa, but their wife and kids don't. So
Yes. But they don't need a NIF to get a national health card, do they? They just need the national health number, the SNS number.
you must have a residence permit to get the national health.
Yes. And they will have got
So
the NIF in that process, won't they?
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
yeah.
We need a bit of clarification, I think, there, Jose Maria. Maybe a bit of confusion over the different abbreviations there. Gail, I understand that even though I plan to live in Setúbal, my AIMA appointment can be at any AIMA office in Portugal. Actually, this is a very good point, isn't it? Will an EI representative attend the appointment with me no matter which office it is? Now, you've not said anything about that, Renata, with the new decree law, with the simplification of AIMA. Do we expect that this is going to continue, that people will not necessarily get an appointment near to where they want to live?
Yes, we hope so. Now we can see this happening in the online platform for family reunifications, for example. They are scheduling people for the city they live. So I
Oh,
think in the
excellent.
future, yes, it will be easier for you to go near your house.
Right.
Okay.
And to answer Gail's question specifically, before that happens, wherever she is or wherever the appointment takes place, EI can help a lawyer, or EI will supply a lawyer to that particular.
Yes, sure. We can travel all over the country to help
There you
you.
go,
Don't
Gail.
worry.
I'm sure that's reassuring. And make a day of it, or would you? Do people tend to do that, Renata? If they do have an appointment elsewhere in the country, do they tend to go the day before and maybe stay a couple of days? Because all the AIMA offices are in great locations. Let's face it.
Yes, I recommend arriving one day before to visit the city. It's nice for you to feel also to visit the points to prove the food. It's very nice. We have a small country but with a lot of particularities that it's nice for you to travel.
Yep.
Okay.
So make an occasion of that AIMA appointment. Excellent. Jose Mario, back to that GV question there. Also, after 5 years have elapsed and my wife and kids are eligible for permanent residency citizenship, could they obtain either without becoming a tax resident of Portugal? So can you get residency citizenship without becoming a tax resident?
So you become a tax resident if you are here for more than 183 days. Sorry, so you already become a tax resident. This is not related to the requirement of obtaining the residence permit. Okay.
Okay. And
So
you don't need to be here that long if you're on a golden visa, do you? So technically they wouldn't need to become a tax resident, would they? But still have the golden visa.
to apply for the permanent residence permit, you need to live in Portugal for a minimum of 5 years legally.
Oh, okay.
And then you can apply for the permanent residence permit and also apply for the Portuguese nationality, which is separate processes. Okay.
Yeah, sorry, I've confused that, haven't I? But I hope that makes sense to
Okay.
you, Jose Mario. Novo Koliskia. I hope I've got that right. If my wife is a resident, can I apply for a D7 from within Portugal, or must I still do it from the US consulate? Visas are from outside the country, aren't they, Renata?
So if sorry, she already have a D7 visa?
Yeah, if my wife is a resident, can I apply for a D7 from within Portugal, or must I still do it from the US consulate? So presumably you can have reunification instead as an option rather than doing a D7.
Yes, you can apply for family unification, but there is no vacancies right now. So in no forecast of opening the vacancies. But if you have your own income, you can also apply for a D7. You can choose both options. Okay.
All right, let's try and make a few of these quickies before we conclude the recording here. Great work tonight. Thanks, Renata and Carolina. Finally, Azores, a question from Jose Mario on the Golden Visa. Are the Azores considered in country for the 7-day annual stay requirement with the Golden Visa? So could you spend your time required in the Azores as well as an alternative to Lisbon, for example? Carolina is unmuting for that one.
Azores, so Azores is Portugal.
Right.
Azores and Madeira are Portugal.
Yes.
They have the same strength as being in Lisbon, as being in Porto. It's the same thing. So you just either go by boat or by plane.
There you
The
go.
only difference is
Definitely
that.
in country, Jose Mario. Autonomous regions, but definitely in country. Cheers. Thank you, Carolina. Jay, I still do not understand the requirement for duration of presence in Portugal during the 5 years from granting the D7 and applying it for citizenship. Is it 6 months? This is the classic question, isn't it? Is it 6 months consecutive or 8 months non-consecutive are required per year during this period? or 6 months consecutive, or 8 months non-consecutive per 2 years. Now, this did change in the last year or two, didn't it? For those of us with remaining close ties outside of Portugal, this is an important difference. So can you help Jay with this, please?
Yes, so currently the rule is this 6 months in a row or 8 months altogether is per duration of the permit. So the first permit will have a 2-year validity. So in the first 2 years, this is applicable for 2 years, but then they will renew the permit for a 3-year permit. And the same rules now for 3 years.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Carolina. And what would, oh, Jennifer has a hand up there. Do you want to go ahead and ask that now, Jennifer?
Yeah, is it per year or is it within the 2-year period? I think it's the same question I've had too, that Jay's asking.
It's per validity of the permit. So if your permit is valid for 2 years, it's per
Yes.
2 years. But then
Okay,
after that permit expires, you will renew it. The second permit will be valid for 3 years.
okay.
But
And
now the same rule for 3 years, not per year. For 3 years, you cannot be outside of the country for more than 6 months in a row or 8 months altogether.
Yeah, it's for the
Okay.
duration of the permit, isn't it? Not
Yes.
per year. There you go.
Okay, so
I hope that helps.
that's a yearly thing then. Can I do 183 days for the entire 2 years? Can I be a resident of Portugal for 183 days for the 2 years, or must it be
No.
double that? It's 1 per year, right?
Must be more because the 183 days is for the finances. So, and the 6 months in a row or 8 months altogether that you can't exceed outside of Portugal is for immigration purposes.
Okay.
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 So, the rule is really you cannot be outside for more than 6 months in a row or 8 months non-consecutive. So
Okay.
you do the math and you need to 24 months less 6 months or less 8 months, and you can manage your time however you want as long as you fulfill that. But even for those numbers, this is the general. If you have emergencies that you might need to exceed these amounts, if you can prove them, and if they are on the established reasons that they consider legitimate, like work reasons, and I think like if you have like a family emergency, but like it needs to be a big family emergency, like someone dying or like that, it's justifiable. But that is the exception.
Still
The
don't get it.
rule is what we spoke.
Yeah, and I mean, it is a tricky one, but I suspect, Jennifer, in your continued conversations with Carolina, the penny will drop on that in the way that you've described before. And that's the beauty of working with EI in that way. So thanks for that, adding to that question there, Jennifer. There are so many moving parts. There's so many things to take on board, that being one of them. And that is quite a confusing little issue there. So I hope we've helped you with that. I can't remember who was asking that question in the first place. Oh, Jay, that was for you, Jay. So I think we should conclude there for the recording part. We don't like to have these webinar recordings too long, but I do want to give Renata and Carolina just a last word, and we'll come back to any unanswered questions after the end of the recording. So first to you, Carolina, is there anything else you'd like to add before we conclude for the time being?
Well, I think we touched all the main points. I'm very happy with so many information that we were able to share here today. Nevertheless, I invite everyone that doesn't feel clarified enough to send us an email and do a consultation with us, because every person, every case is a case. We are people. It's impossible to do it mathematically. It's not just one solution fits all.
Right.
It doesn't work like that. So our email contact is here on my
Nicely done.
on my background.
Yes.
And I look like the influencers and the TikTokers pointing to
You did that so brilliantly. You did that so brilliantly, like you've been practicing. And the details, of course, are in the Expats Portugal business directory. And there is a discount for members as well that you might like to know about too. So thanks, Carolina, for that for the time being. Renata, our wonderful presenter tonight, thank you for sharing that. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we conclude?
So thank you very much for today. And if you have questions about residence permit application, also contact us. We can have a consultation. If you have an appointment at AIMA and you need us to review the documents and accompany you, please contact us. Okay, we can help you with this residence permit application. And that's all. Thank you very much for
Superb.
this
Great
evening.
job. Thank you very much. Stick around if you will for a few more questions after we've pressed stop on this recording.